My name is Matt Noah, and this low-quality video is probably not so much important as the message. And I know that there's other videos out there of people discussing their spinal fusions, lumbar laminectomies, microdiscectomies, all sorts of back surgeries. And, you know, I've gone through 3 different procedures at this point. So I have a little bit of perspective, certainly not as much as a surgeon, but as a patient, I guess I've done a few things. So just briefly, let me dial back and explain. Around about March 20th or so, I herniated a disc, and the disc was L4, L5. It was excruciatingly painful. It just came on, nothing peculiar happened. There was no accident, there was no fall, there was no jarring. It was just over the course of the day, my back got sore and sore to the point where, bam, by the evening, I was writhing in pain on a bed at a hotel in southern Minnesota. So there you go, a herniated disc. But, of course, I didn't know that at the time. I just felt like I had a bad back. Anyway, so I dragged myself to the ER, get some Dilaudid, which is some really potent painkiller, and then I get some Percocet, and after a few hours of sleeping and such, I make it home with no problem. There, after getting home, I talked to my primary care physician, and he somewhat dismissed it, and just gave me some more Percocet, and I think there was tizanidine, which is a muscle relaxant, or it was Valium. Pretty sure it was Valium, because I was falling asleep every 4 hours with that. It's a pretty potent sleep agent, as well as a very potent muscle relaxant. So thank goodness I have a brother who was a physician in the hospital network in my hometown, and he coaxed my primary care physician into ordering an MRI for me. So an MRI pretty much will tell you if you have a herniated disc. And lo and behold, the MRI was done, and I had this huge herniated disc, L4, L5. My primary care physician sent me over to a surgeon who promptly said, you know what, I don't think there's anything we can do for you except surgery. And he was very convincing. The surgery he was recommending is called a microdiscectomy. So about a month after the herniation, on April 20th, 2016, I had a microdiscectomy. And didn't spend a night in the hospital. Had the surgery, I believe, late morning, maybe it was early morning, I forget. It was in the morning. And the only eventful thing about that was I ended up in a different gown than I went into surgery with. So apparently I'm a thrasher when it comes to getting out of recovery, post-op. That's one thing you got to get used to when you are in this issue is there's a lot of people who are going to see you naked if you're doing a lot of surgeries. So get used to it. Anyway, so after that, I was able to stand up. I was able to walk. My back felt very good, and I started having a lot more pain in my right leg. I was told to just forget about it for a while, that I would have a 7-week post-op visit, and everything should be taken care of. Probably within a few days the pain would go away, and that I should be doing great in 7 weeks. Well, time passed, and it did not get better, and the surgeon did not respond to my pleas for help. And I get at the 7-week appointment, and he had kind of checked out of the whole deal. I think he had done his surgery. That was it for him. And quite frankly, after having the pain that I did, I was ready to be done with him as well. So I went to another neurosurgeon in the same hospital, someone who hopefully was better. And meanwhile, my right leg, and by right leg I mean my symptoms were basically numbness and tingliness in my right instep and in my right shin. Then I was getting this extremely crazy action going on in my thigh. Not my quads, but my thigh. So tightness, stiffness, spasming, not weakness, but certainly pain whenever I'd get involved in any sort of activity. So, again, microdiscectomy April 20th. Go through the course of the summer. The second neurosurgeon didn't seem that interested in treating me because, hey, I wasn't his first patient, and he didn't feel like working on somebody that had been broken by somebody else. I guess that's the attitude I get. Well, lo and behold, he did try something. He put me on gabapentin, which is a nerve medicine, and it's a good one. And it's almost impossible to overdose on gabapentin, although I don't recommend you trying. He worked me up from, I believe it was 300 milligrams to 600 milligrams after 2 weeks, and then for weeks 3 and 4, I was on 900 milligrams. So I was feeling a little bit better, but really not that much. So at the end of that whole gabapentin deal of 900 milligrams, I'm back in his office, and he basically threw up his hands and said, well, there's nothing more I can do for you except 2 things. And the first thing was to send me over to the hospital's pain clinic, where they would then work out some sort of pain alleviation, prescriptions, exercises, who knows what, I didn't know. And then he also wrote me a prescription for a lifetime parking permit, that is a handicap parking permit. So at that point I pretty much knew what he thought my chances are for recovery. By the way, if you can get a handicap parking permit, I would recommend doing so. It's a lifesaver when it comes to not having to take long walks when you really can't, because there are times where even the short walks into a Walmart or a store of large size, I would not get a shopping cart. I would get a driving shopping cart. I would be driving around in the car like I was unable to walk. So, and it's interesting to see friends in the store when you're in that position. Anyway, I got over to the pain clinic at the hospital, and for some reason they thought that the gabapentin and the Valium were just the wrong mix, and so they wanted to put me on lyrica and tizanidine. Well, okay with tizanidine. I started taking that because the muscle relaxants really never help that much. The Valium's help was in getting me to sleep at night, so that was a good thing. But Lyrica, when I went to go fill that prescription, it was $160 for a month's supply, and I just thought, well, I ain't gonna go and start doing Lyrica. And I talked to another neurosurgeon who wasn't in my hometown. He was 250 miles away, and he had been recommended to me by family. So I called him, and he said the 900 milligrams was a Hello Kitty dose of gabapentin, and that I should not take Lyrica unless I wanted to gain a whole heck of a lot of weight and probably not be cured. So I gradually worked my way up under his supervision to 3,600 milligrams of gabapentin a day. That helped. Every time I increased the gabapentin, and you got to go slow, you can't just automatically start taking 3,600 milligrams. You listen to your doctor, and hey, I was feeling much better. But when I say much better, I mean I'm going from 100% pain to maybe 85%, whereas the 900 milligrams of gabapentin was maybe getting me to 97%. So I'm feeling improvement, but I'm just not getting any other relief. And he suggested I go to a different pain doctor in Fargo, someone that he knows. Oh, there I said it. I'm in Fargo. Hey, look at this. UND Fighting Sioux. Okay. I'm a big University of North Dakota hockey fan. Anyway, so I did that and talked to him. Got the well. Let's see. I talked to this new pain doc, and he did something that was really good for me. Got me off of Percocet. I was never hooked on Percocet, but he got me on something called Tramadol, and Tramadol worked very, very well to alleviate the pain. I would say it was almost as good as the gabapentin. And then he also put me on baclofen, which is a different muscle relaxant. I'm not sure that did much good. Honestly, the best regimen of muscle relaxants, if there is one, is take Valium at night. You know, one tablet of that to help you sleep, and then I don't know. Xanazine makes you thirsty. Baclofen is probably just fine. So I was taking baclofen. Anyway, so my pain doc was doing that, and I had already had a selective nerve block, and you know, that didn't show much. But that was at the old pain clinic. So the new pain clinic, they did an epidural on me, looking for some relief there. Did not work. Gave me relief for maybe half a day, and then the next day was really bad. They did another selective nerve block, and that was quite different than the first one. That one was very telling. So you need to understand what a selective nerve block is supposed to show. It's as much a therapy as it is a diagnostic tool. And by that I mean there's two elements to the selective nerve block, or at least that's what I'm told, and that's what I experienced. The first is the lidocaine injection. So the lidocaine is meant to kind of numb the surface and numb the nerve, because it goes in somewhat deep, but it's given in a very precise manner under fluoroscopy, which is basically an X-ray. So I really felt the lidocaine made my leg move, and then after that, the lidocaine injection was taken out, and then the cortisone injection was put in. The cortisone being the steroid that's supposed to give longer-term relief. In short, I felt really good with the lidocaine injection for a couple hours. It really did just numb that whole area, which is a very good diagnosis. It means that the nerve is actually being irritated quite a bit, and the fact that lidocaine will help ease that. I mean, you can't live on lidocaine injections, but it showed that that nerve was being hurt. The cortisone injection afterwards did nothing, so I got no relief out of that. Anyway, so meanwhile, I had also found a different neurosurgeon in Minneapolis. By the way, the two neurosurgeons in Minneapolis were superb. And the other neurosurgeon in Minneapolis was the one that had ordered a second MRI and also a dynamic MRI. And the dynamic MRI showed my disc slipping relative, the vertebrae slipping relative to each other. So there was definitely some instability there. All right, so this is getting a little bit long. I'm at 14 minutes, 22 seconds. And all this is leading up to the last trick in the bag of the pain doc, and that is a neurostimulator trial. For those who are putting their faith in a neurostimulator implant and hoping that the trial shows that that's going to do it all for you, my experience is that it did nothing for me. And I was told I was a near perfect candidate for a neurostimulator trial. The first thing I found out was that, okay, oh, I gotta fix that. Okay. First thing I found out was that, you know, you only get one manufacturer's neurostimulator, and in a lot of cases, you only get to use it in one mode. So mine was a Medtronic, and they had programmed it for 40 hertz, and I forget the intensity, but you can vary the intensity. That's one thing you can do on your own. They stuck 2 leads up my back around Christmas of 2016, and not the most pleasant of procedures, because you have to be awake to tell them, you know, whether it's working or not. But not the worst either. Anyway, so for 2 days I was experimenting with the levels, and then I actually experimented a little bit with the frequencies, doing 450 hertz and then 900 hertz. Nothing was working. In fact, I'd get it up to a point where I could feel the stimulation. It's like a power line buzz in your back. And then I would move positions and I'd get almost a shock. Yeah, I'd get a shock in my back. And it wasn't a terrible shock, but it was something that was not pleasant. And so the Medtronic rep and I met on day 3 of the trial. He adjusted which leads were being stimulated. He adjusted the levels, and lo and behold, I wasn't getting shocked, but I also wasn't getting relief. So after the trial, which ended December 23rd, 2016, the leads were pulled out, and my pain doc said, there's nothing more I can do for you except refer you to a neurosurgeon. So he referred me to one of the 2 neurosurgeons in the Twin Cities that I had been speaking with. Meanwhile, I had already set up an appointment with one of them months ago, because it took 3 months to get on his calendar. And so I met with him in mid-January. He looked at the MRIs. Again, he looked at other things. We went over the results of the selective nerve block, and he said, I think I can get this all taken care of with a simple laminectomy. And so I was overjoyed. I didn't know what a laminectomy was, but if he can take care of it with a simple, whatever, laminectomy, I'm all for it. I mean, I'm willing to go through the rehab and whatever's necessary. So that was good news. Both the neurosurgeons in the Twin Cities were reluctant to operate. They want to make sure that when they do operate that they can be effective, which I think is a good policy. I suppose you can always shop around for someone who will rush you into surgery, but it's your back. Don't settle for a second-rate neurosurgeon, and do the best you can by yourself. Anyway, so it was scheduled for March 3rd. I got a call January 31st. He said he had an opening for February 3rd. Would I want to take it? And I said, yes, 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 yes. So here's the interesting part. So here I am. I've had a microdiscectomy. I've had a neurostimulator trial. So my back's been opened up twice. And it's about to be opened up a 3rd time with a laminectomy. And lo and behold, apparently, I filed the right paperwork prior to the surgery. So be careful about this. You got to decide what you want to do. But in essence, I said, if the laminectomy is not going to be the thing that works, and the surgeon thinks that there's another way to go, do I give him permission to do a different procedure? So I checked the box that said yes. Okay? And it was good that I did, because after about 40 minutes surgery, maybe less, he discovered a fracture in one of my facet joints that would result in instability in the spine. If he did a laminectomy, I mean, there's already instability in the spine, so the only way to get around that was to do a fusion. So he ended up doing a fusion. Simple L4, L5 fusion, and now I'm on day 7. First day, tell you, general anesthesia is a wonderful thing. Oh, there's two of my kids coming over saying hi. Hi, I'm making a video. Okay, we'll have some pizza pretty soon, right? Okay, let me finish this. So they're the reason I'm getting all this done. I have 7 kids. Not that I'm not doing it for myself as well. So had a fusion. Took a long time for me to get stabilized with my breathing and my blood pressure after the surgery. So even though I went in at for a 9 o'clock surgery, I didn't get rolled in, I think, until about 10:15, 10:30. Should have been done around noon, which I was done around noon. And 2 hours post-op, my wife should have been in there at 2, and she didn't go into the recovery room until 5 because it took them 3 hours to get me all settled down. And during that time, I don't remember any of it, so I'm sure part of it I was conscious or semi-conscious. Anyway, first night, hell. Get used to it. It's not fun. Your back is going to be as sore as hell. I had a 3-inch incision, and it felt like someone had just taken a Mack truck, loaded it with cement, and just kind of bounced it on my back a couple times. You don't feel like you can move at all, and that's kind of a strange feeling to be laying in bed as still as you can, hurting, and feeling like there's nothing you can do. And you can't sleep, so you writhe in pain, but you don't really move, because if you move, it gets worse. So it feels like the end of the world, but it's not. So here I am on day 7. First day out, Saturday morning. What can I say? It was difficult to move at first. They said I got to start getting up and walking. I thought they were nuts. One of the nurses or PTs or OTs, they have so many people that come in. Most of them are very nice. A few of them are not. I'll say that. Some of them will just come to the door and, after you push the button, they'll say, "What?" As opposed to come over to your bedside and say, "Oh, what's wrong? Can I help you? What seems to be the problem?" So, anyway, I learned the log roll out of bed, so I actually knew how to do it, but I just wasn't going to because it hurt to just roll at all. But they said, well, you have to. You got to start moving. So somehow, miraculously, by Saturday afternoon, I got up the courage to do that, and I was able to make a step or two, and then 3 or 4. I'm using a walker. I'm going very, very slowly. My back is killing me. I still have some lingering problems with my right leg with the symptoms I told you before. And I don't make it out of the room. I just make it maybe 5 steps past the edge of the bed. Okay. I've got a Foley catheter, so there's no going to the bathroom to pee. And I've got... there's nothing that I want to do to otherwise. Okay, so no poop, no pee. And not much eating. I don't have an appetite. Of course, I'm being fed through an IV and getting pain meds through an IV. And when they first tried to give me on an oral pain med, I threw it up. It's just the way you are. Your stomach is, I think, the last thing that comes out of it, general anesthesia, and that could take a day. Anyway, so that was Saturday. Sunday is the normal discharge day, but hey, I can't think of getting discharged. They don't even think I'm going to get discharged. But I'm getting out of bed and I'm taking several walks. So I took, I think, maybe 5 to 7 walks on Sunday. The first 4 or 5 were just in the confines of my room, maybe to the edge of the bed, maybe about 5 feet beyond, maybe over to the door, edge of the door. The last one was maybe just outside the door. And then I got really brave and I walked over to the nurse's station, which was just outside my door, so an additional maybe 20 feet and back. So at this point I'm thinking, okay, making some progress. So by Monday I know that I'm going to get discharged. I get the wonderful removal of the Foley catheter. I get the IV removed. What else? Well, yeah, so basically I'm feeling a little bit more like a normal human being, except for that Mack truck that's just still sitting on my back. But I'm able to move, and I went for a walk, and I walked the entire length of the hallway, and it's a long hallway. I'd say it probably passes by 15 rooms, goes into a lobby. I went through the lobby, around the area. I mean, this is with my walker, and I'm going slow, but I'm starting to pick up a little bit of steam. I don't think I'm going to get drafted by the Patriots, but I think I picked up a little steam for my condition. And feeling better about that. So they think that I'm good to go, and haven't had a real good bowel movement, but I am peeing regularly. So bam, I'm released on Monday, so that's 3 days after I get home. On the way home I have to get out every hour and a half or so and walk. I'm able to do that. So here I am at home. It's day 7. So now I've taken 3 10-minute walks in my house, just walking from the living room to the kitchen to the dining room to the entry foyer to the living room to the kitchen to the dining room. And variety for me is going counterclockwise after having gone clockwise. But I feel better. I'm able to work a couple hours a day if I'm just sitting here. I mean, I'm not going into work. I'm just working on my computer. And after an hour's worth of work, I'll generally take a walk, use the restroom, go sit in my very easy chair with the help of my wife, and watch a couple hours of whatever and fall asleep. And I usually fall asleep before the couple hours are up. I wake up again and kind of do the same thing, work for an hour. So that's it. That's day 7. So to recap, microdiscectomy after a herniated disc, couple of selective nerve root blocks, gabapentin, Valium, switching, and then Percocets, switching over to tramadol eventually, upping the gabapentin dramatically. And right now I'm about 3,000 milligrams of gabapentin a day. I'm taking tablet Dilaudid, and I'll probably get off of that and go to tablet Percocet here soon. My back feels like it's getting better every day, slowly but surely. So hopefully it does not plateau until it gets to 0 pain. So that's my story. I'm very hopeful that this will be resolved, and I will probably not be a pole vaulter in the Olympics, but if I can take a 5-mile walk, coach soccer, run around with my kids, and who knows, maybe I'll even try water skiing again. I'll be a very happy man. I hope that happens to me. You can follow me. I'll post another video maybe in a week or so. And I hope the best for you.